Bienvenidos, Ushamdi, and welcome Anne Arundel Community College learners from the Spring 2023 semester taking the CTS-233 Section 400 Network Programmability course. This is the Cisco Networking Academy's DEVASC 200-901 Certification Exam Preparation course, and in this video tutorial, we're going to continue our journey on Part 3 of Lab 636. And so what are you going to learn in this video? Well, we're going to show you how you would modify that sample-app shell script along with the sample_app Python file that's going to create that Flask web application that we're building. And we're going to learn how to push those changes that we would make to Git. Now, why are we doing this? Well, in Part 4, in the next video, we're going to be downloading, installing, and running the Jenkins container that we're going to need for this lab. And what's going to happen is Jenkins is also running on port 8080, and we currently have our sample app designed and coded to run on 8080 as well. So let's go ahead and dive into the virtual machine here, and let's do and use Git for exactly what it is designed to do. So if I was to say git status here real quick, you can see we got nothing going on. What about a git log? All right, so we've got that original commit. You can see right here, we have committed our sample app files. And let's go ahead and now take a look. We want to go into sample_app.py. And this is the first file that we're going to change. Now, again, it's right down here. And remember, we've got this run method, right, that is inextricably linked to our Flask object that comes from the Flask class called sample. And so run tells it how it's going to run. We're going to run it on, remember the host equals here, that just means it's going to run on all interfaces. It's going to bind itself to all interfaces on whatever host it's running on, but it's on 8080. And so we need to change this. And we're going to change it to 5050. So I type 5050 in. You can make these changes in VS Code. Again, I like to use VI. It's just a little bit quicker for me. And then we're going to save those changes. So now if I say git status, remember we're tracking everything that's in this directory, excuse me, that we had added. So Git realizes, hey, there's been a change here. Now, remember, there are other files in here that are impacted by that port 8080 change. And the other one is the sample-app.py. I'm sorry, .sh. This is our bash shell script. Because remember, it's in here where we have this Docker run command. Excuse me. And the Docker run command has got the 8080 port in there as well. So we want 5050:5050. Oops, and let's drop back over here and get rid of that 9. That's going to cause issues. All right, so we wanted to change the ports in here as well. And actually, I blew right by the other one. And we can do CW to change word. We'll say 5050. And we will go ahead and hit escape. So we changed the, excuse me, the expose line that's going to get put into the Docker file. And then the Docker run command down here that is going to try to run the Docker container created from this Docker file for our sample app. And again, we just changed the ports here, 5050, 5050. And so let's save this. And remember, now that we've done this, we want to go ahead. We didn't actually run the bash shell script to build the container in the previous step because we knew we were going to have to make these changes. And so now that's something that we're going to do here. So how can we do that? Well, I could do a chmod, but let's just go ahead and say bash./sample-app.sh. So we're running that bash shell script right now, and it's going to do a whole bunch of stuff for us here. I hit enter, and it's going to pull down our Python image as part of step 1. And remember, the 7 steps are all of those steps that we echoed into the Docker file. And if you remember from our previous work with the Docker containers, that when we went ahead and executed the build, excuse me, that it's downloading this image. So if we were to run something like this again and use that Python image, it would be much quicker, right? And again, it's talking about upgrading pip. Okay, we're fine there. We can ignore that message. And so now we have a Docker container that should be running. And you can see here, it actually printed out what's going on there. So what if I was to say Docker images? We should see the Python image. We should see our sample app. And you do see Jenkins again. I was tweaking, messing around with Jenkins here earlier, and so that's why we see the Jenkins image there, and that would actually save us time when we go to pull Jenkins down subsequently. And let's say git status. So what does our git repo look like right now? Well, as you can see, we've got this new tempdir. Remember, we ran the build script. And so what does tempdir contain? So let's take a look and say ls tempdir. And there you go. It's got our sample app. It's got the static and templates directories that it needs. Remember, this is just a copy of what we had here at in the directory that we're currently in, right? And so we basically just kind of copied things over into the tempdir because that is where we would end up building our Flask Python application. So let's go ahead now and do our git add. And again, if I say git status again so we can see that one more time, we've got some things that are modified, but then we've got some things that we need to add, right? So the modified, those have already been added. Excuse me. The modified files, we had already tweaked sample app sh and py, but now we've got this new tempdir, but we can grab all of this stuff by saying git add asterisk. And now when I say git status, everything should be green. And we should also see all of the underlying files that are in that tempdir. Again, that is in the tempdir. There's my Dockerfile, sample app, py, style CSS, and index.html, right? All of those things are in there ready to go. So now that I've now that I've changed these files, run the bash build script that we created, now I'm going to commit everything. So we'll say git commit -m, and I'm going to say changed port from 8080 to 5050. And again, we could put in here, you know, commit 02 or the date or whatever the case may be, your initials, the change control number. So again, I'm just throwing something in here so that it's going to stick out and be conspicuous. So I would say git commit. There we go. Let's say git status. And you can see main branch is clean. What about a git log? And the most recent commit is up here at the top, right? Remember, there's that SHA-1 hash, of which if we were to grab the first 6 characters, we would be good to go. But everything here is ready to go. So what do we need to do? Well, now that we've got everything locally sorted out here with Git and we've committed our changes, now we want to push all of this up to our Git repo, which is represented by, think of it as like an alias, the word origin there. And what branch am I pushing up? I'm pushing the main branch up. Again, we're going to be asked for username. So Travis P. B-O-N, whoops, and it's lagging a little bit, B-O-N-F-I-G-L-I. And then my personal access token. Let's see if I can do this without forgetting to grab the first G there. So we'll say edit and copy, come back to the window that we want to be in here. And we will come down here and say paste. We'll hit run. And we just pushed all of our changes up to, or all of our updated files up to GitHub. So how can we confirm that? Well, simple. We just pop on over to GitHub. And you can see 25 minutes ago we did that work. We've got the comment here that we put in with all of our commits, and this shows the 0-1. Let's click refresh. And what we should see is static, right? Everything was good there. We've got the template, the tempdir, right? Because that's new, so that shows that commit 02. Nothing changed here with the templates directory, so that doesn't change. And then we've got our sample app and our bash shell script and the Python script for the sample app. And those did get updated. So this just gives us a little differentiation to see, all right, nothing changed in the static directory, nothing changed in the templates directory. And so those don't get updated when we push them here. Again, because there were no changes for those files. All right, so what have we done? Well, we changed our Python Flask app so that it runs on port 5050 as opposed to port 8080. And now in part 4 of this lab, we're going to start digging into Jenkins. We're going to get the Jenkins Docker container and we're going to go to town. All right, so that's going to do it for part 3 of lab 636, where we're building a CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope to see you in the next video.